Welcome back, folks. I'm Yvonne Davis, author, astrologer, and life transformation coach. And this is part 2 of John Bolton's Revenge. So if you haven't seen part 1, you'll definitely want to check it out. I'll put a link above. And the two of them really work together. So you want to see both. It doesn't matter which one you see first or second. Just make sure that you see both because I think the way it's landing on the charts is really important. So I'm going to pull up the chart that I want to show you. And while I'm doing that, I want to mention there are only 3 days left of my New Year's special. So if you're interested in reading, click the link in the description box below and it'll take you where you can go to order a reading. So, okay, so here we are, John Bolton's book release, March 27th, 2020. I set it for 12 a.m. because technically bookstores can start selling as early as midnight on that day. So that's the true book release time and day. And I just wanted to really quickly show you this because there is this amazing grand earth trine. And, up here is in Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, is in the 10th house, and it's making a trine to Jupiter and Pluto, which are all about wealth and power. In fact, when the two of them are mixed together, it can be super wealth. And so that's something we can look forward to this year. We're going to have 3 Jupiter-Pluto conjunctions, but he is enjoying the benefit of it at the time of his book release, and a grand earth trine to Venus in Taurus. So this is really powerful because Venus is all about money, and Jupiter is the great expander, and Pluto is about power, but also the combination can bring extraordinary wealth. So I think his book is going to do very well financially. And it's also making a kite to Neptune. And whenever you see Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, and Venus in any combination, you know that's going to lead to extraordinary wealth. So I know he's going to do extremely well financially with this book. You've also, as I pointed out before, he's got, at the time of the book release, he's got a Pluto Mars conjunction, which is, and it's being expanded by Jupiter. And this energy is very scorpionic. And so, as I was saying, this is all about getting revenge. So we'll be very curious to see what he has to say. And then along with that, the Moon Uranus conjunction means it'll be shocking, very shocking and surprising. It's going to pull the rug out from under a lot of people's feet. And I'm assuming Donald Trump, but it's really hard to make predictions with Uranus about exactly what that will look like, because Uranus is the planet of unpredictability, disruption, and chaos. So astrologers really can't make specific predictions when it comes to Uranus because of its unpredictability. All we can say is it will be something very shocking, very surprising. And so I guess we'll look forward to seeing what that is. And I would also say that this Uranus-Moon conjunction is sextiling the North Node. So again, that has a lot to do with karma. So this is really super interesting. And the vertex is in the mix as well. So yeah, so I think this is an extraordinary chart for a book release, particularly this book release. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was to bring this up on the chart for the United States. And I want to look at 2 charts related to the United States. One is the U.S. Constitution signing chart, and the other one is the U.S. Sibley chart, because they represent different aspects of the United States. The U.S. Sibley chart is July 4th, 1776. So this is basically the Declaration of Independence, which some people say was the birth of the nation. But the other one is the U.S. Constitution signing chart. So they're both extremely important to the birth of our nation, but they focus on different things. So because the Constitution focuses more on the structure of our government. But look here, Mars is making a return to the natal Pluto. So I think there's something really important that's getting kicked off here that will later possibly be part of what will be brought when our nation has its Pluto return, because you can see Pluto is getting very close to its Pluto return. So I do think that something we will see with this book release by this book by John Bolton is, I think they're connected, honestly. I think it really is somehow, it's like it's really going to kick off the profound transformation that we will experience at the time of our nation's Pluto return. All right, so, you know, I have often mentioned Saras in relationship to Trump. And although it's a little difficult to say exactly what it represents, but certainly it has something to do with the underworld. If you're familiar with the story of Persephone, Ceres, or also known as Demeter, was Persephone's mother. She was the goddess of the harvest, and her daughter was abducted by Pluto and taken into the underworld. So it definitely has something to do with the underworld. I've also often thought it has something to do with Russia because of the scythe. And for a long time, Russia used the symbol of the scythe, the hammer and the scythe, as a representation of their country, the USSR. So, so the fact that Mercury is conjunct this Ceres here, I think is also important. The fourth house is home, so that could represent the White House. It could also represent our fatherland. So literally, the earth is our home in this country. And the sun is conjunct Chiron at this time. Chiron is the wounded healer. So that's really interesting. And again, the moon is conjunct Uranus. And Venus is conjunct Vesta. Vesta is the goddess of the home. You may be familiar with the term Vestal Virgin. Those were the priestesses who protected the home fires. So it's interesting that Venus is on Vesta at this time. And then the North Node is on our natal Venus in this chart for the Declaration of Independence. So again, very karmic. Venus is playing a very important role in this chart. And then, let's see what else. I'm wondering if it could have some impact on the economy because Venus rules money and finances, also rules women. So, so it's kind of hard to say, but that it could have something to do with that, especially in the 8th house, because the 8th house is joint finances and joint resources. So this book could be so powerful, it could actually have an impact on the economy. All right, so the midheaven is over Neptune. You know, and we've talked a lot about Neptune and its impact on our country now because it's currently transiting Pluto. It's currently transiting Pisces down here in the 4th house of home, and we are definitely seeing it in the whole fake news thing. Our president is a pathological liar. The Republicans are lying to protect him and cover up his wrongdoings, and it's also the cause of the opioid epidemic. But the fact that the midheaven is over Neptune, in my opinion, means the revelations of the deception and the cover-up, because the midheaven makes things public. So with the midheaven over the nation's natal Neptune, I think is very important. Yeah, it's going to be a revelation of the lies and the information that we have not to this point been aware of, and the cover up and all of that. So there's some really powerful stuff that this book release is bringing to a lot of people and to our nation as a whole. Okay, so I want to bring up that other chart of the U.S. Constitution signing. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so you can see here our nation is having a reversed nodal return. And so we're in a very unbelievably karmic time for our nation. And things that are happening now are going to make the difference in our entire nation moving forward. And the ascendant is virtually at the same position as the natal ascendant for this chart. And that actually makes a big difference when the ascendant lines up with the natal ascendant. It makes the chart more powerful, more karmic, and it tells the astrologer that something really important is happening. And so that's the main thing, was the nodal return that's happening at this time. And so the vertex is also conjunct the natal vertex. Again, because those things are lining up with the natal chart, we know that this is an incredibly important time and very karmic. So let's look at this. Because as you can see, the North Node is still having a huge impact here with the reverse nodal return. And so that's true of both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution signing chart. So let's see what else. If anything else is being highly impacted by this chart, we can see not only the North Node, but also Venus and Vesta are now conjunct in this chart. And they're right over the natal Vesta and the natal Jupiter. Jupiter is all about truth and beliefs, truth, justice, and our belief system. What does this country stand for? That's what Jupiter represents. And the president is supposed to be the personification of those values. And so what's happening in this country is just mind-boggling. Although I have said before that actually I think a lot of this stuff has been happening, has been ongoing, just like Mulvaney said, oh, we do it all the time. And actually, that's probably true. And I'm not just saying about the Republicans. I think that, a lot of the distrust of the government there might be some reason for that. I'm not saying that we should just blanketly distrust our government. After all, it's made up of individuals, and a lot of those individuals are trustworthy and they do have integrity. And we do need a collective way to, run our society, and so that we can all benefit from that. So government is important, and there are a lot of good people in government, but the question is whether or not they're all honest. And I think that what's happening now is that what we're seeing in the revelations is something that's kinds of things that probably have been going on for a long time. It's just we were never able to see them before. And now, because Trump is not very sophisticated in the way that he's doing it, and the people he's hired are not very sophisticated in the way they're doing it, and so it's just so much more visible now. And I also noticed that Mars is conjunct Saturn. Saturn is all about the structure of our government. And the natal Saturn is going to conjoin the natal Pluto in 2021. So there's definitely a restructuring of power and authority going on in this country. And I think that this book by John Bolton is actually going to be a massive nail in the coffin of things that have happened up to this point, and they need to stop happening. Our country needs to get real about what its true values are. And the people who run our government, particularly at the highest level of our government, should represent the values of this country. And so the, Vesta and the Vestal Virgins, that it's interesting because it's conjunct Venus. So that says a lot. Venus also rules justice, but like the scales of justice. But this is a very feminine energy. So that tells me that women are still playing an extraordinary role in protecting the values of our country, our fatherland, I want our country to truly represent the values that I was taught as a child, because even now I can still have that experience of getting goosebumps, when I used to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag, or I heard the national anthem, I got goosebumps and tears in my eyes, because I really, the values of this country really do matter to me. That's why I'm doing this work, because the values of this country really matter to me. And I don't want to see corrupt people running this government. It's wrong. It's heartbreaking. So, okay, time for me to sign off. As usual, if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, click like on this video, share with friends and family and on social media, and leave your comments below. I've been absolutely loving your comments, and I love the conversation. So I will be reading them all, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.